Shalom.
I'm about the Lord business, I ain't playing with them, and I'm standing on that. I got my foot on their neck. I got the road in my hands. I ain't even breaking a sweat. You're not even a threat, I'm a soldier, head on the swivel.
Okay, shalom.
Hey, shalom, Lord in Christ. Can you hear me?
Go on, sir.
Hold on 1 second. Let me just work this volume again. Give me 1 second.
No, sir. Are we live yet, sir? We're live.
Say something. Let me see if I can hear you.
One.
Yeah,
One.
Let's see if I can hear you. All right, then. There you go. All right, shalom. This is the ISUPK Wednesday Law Class. Also, remember, check out Commanding General Yohanna's radio show, which is Monday, 2 a.m. There's also another one, Saturday, 2 a.m. Log into those for all the latest information, breakdowns, what's relevant, what's going on. We also have classes here, Monday through Friday. We have them live. Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. Monday, you have the history class. Wednesday, the law class. Thursday, the scripture breakdown class. Online, you have the brotherhood class. And online, you also have the Lashram Kodash, which is the Hebrew class. And on Friday, you have the radio show on the ends. And then Saturday, Sabbath service and camp if everything goes well with the weather and the manpower and so forth. Also, any questions, you can just type them in online and we'll get to them. Any questions, just type them in online and we'll get to them. We're going to go into mercy and the city of refuge and what would happen back then. So we're going to start off in the book of, let me see. All right, we're going to start off in the book of Numbers, chapter 35 and verse, hold on, let me see what verse I want. All right, so in the book of Numbers, chapter 35 and verse... All right, start from verse 9. So we start in Numbers, chapter 35 and verse 9.
Numbers 35, verse 9. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When ye become over Jordan into the land of Canaan, then you shall appoint you cities to be cities of refuge for you.
So now you would appoint cities of refuge, meaning if any crimes was to take place, if anyone was to die by accident, unawares, a man didn't mean to, someone died, you was doing something and someone died, and cause why it would be someone called the avenger of blood. That would be this person's family member, and it was their job to come and kill you. So in order for you not to get killed, what did you have to do? Flee to a city of refuge, man. And the reason you had to flee to the city of refuge is why? Because if you kill a man's brother or a man's son, you trying to explain to him it was an accident, he's not going to hear it, man. He don't want to hear it was an accident and it wasn't my fault and it wasn't meant to happen. So to stop this man from killing you, it was a city of refuge. And once you made it to that city of refuge, that man couldn't come into the city of refuge and get you. But if he caught you before you got to that city of refuge, because this man's anger is hot, he's going to kill you, man. So the Lord had something in place, a city of refuge. And this is where if you killed someone by accident or you done something and harmed someone by accident, you had to go to that city of refuge, which is like you going to a place of peace where this person ain't coming to harm you, man. Where you're safe. It's like a safe haven for you, man. A city of refuge. Go ahead.
Kadwan Khan. That the slayer may flee thither.
And he was called the slayer. Why? Because you killed someone. So it was said that the slayer may flee hither. Why? This slayer had to flee. Why? Because there was someone coming to kill you, man. If you kill someone by accident, listen, you're gonna have a hard time explaining to their family it was an accident, man. You explaining to their family it was an accident, you're gonna have a hard time doing it, man. Black people don't like to forgive other black people. So there's the city of refuge where what? You would go for a place of safety because this man's brother is going to come and kill you, man. Us as black people, the only people we forgive is white people, man. They can kill your brother, your son, and they wouldn't need a city of refuge, right? Because you ain't gonna harm them, man. You love them and care for them. Whereas with our own people, we needed the city of refuge, right? Because there's a man coming to kill you, man. Read on.
God. Which killeth any person at unawares.
Unawares meaning this man didn't mean to do it. He didn't plan it. It wasn't premeditated. It's not murder. It's like unawares meaning if you and this man are out doing something together and something. Let's say you and him are chopping down trees together and you chop the tree and the tree drops on him and kills him. You didn't plan for that to happen. But try explaining that to his mother, man. When his mother's wailing and crying, try explaining that to his mother. Try explaining that to his older brother and his cousins and his family and his near of kin. They're not going to listen to it. So there was a city of refuge where you would have to flee to. And then once you was there, what would you do? You would plead your cause and say it wasn't on purpose. You would plead your cause and say this was by accident, man. This wasn't supposed to happen. And you would plead your cause in front of the priest in the congregation. And then they would decide what judgment you're supposed to get. Now, if you're innocent, guess what would happen? You just stay in the city of refuge until the high priest dies. And then after that, you'd be allowed to go back home. But before that, you can't go back home, man. Because if you do go back home, this man is going to want blood. Read on.
And they shall be unto you cities of refuge for the avenger, from the avenger.
And the avenger is the man that is coming to avenge his loved one. So he would be the avenger in this case. You kill a brother by accident, he's got family members that love him dearly. Those people coming to kill you, they will be called the avenger. Why? Because they're coming to avenge their loved one. Go ahead.
Khan. That the manslayer die not until he's...
And the city of refuge is there for what? So the manslayer dies not, man. Like there's a thing that we do called jungle justice. Listen, man, we make up our own mind before we've even heard the cause. Like there's a video in Jamaica where they heard that one black man was a child molester and they beat him to death and he wasn't a child molester, man. They got the wrong information and they beat him to death, man. And this is why you shouldn't be attacking anyone and beating anyone to death before you've even heard the full story. You have to hear a full story to know if it's true or not. They beat this man to death in front of everyone and he was saying, yo, it's not me, you got me mistaken for somebody else. And they ended up killing him. And after that, guess what? You can't bring that man back. That man can't come back after he's dead. After you realize he was wrong and this was the wrong man, that man can't come back once you realize he was wrong. So this is why they have these city of refuges. Why? So things can be established and so a man can plead his cause. Because also if we hear, yo, this man killed this person, the story will start going around saying, yo, it chopped him with this. This time, that's not what happened. Maybe an accident happened. But once the story gets twisted, what happens? One man's going to say, yeah, this person killed him. That person killed him. And this man would have to flee. Why? Because people from the city that love that man is going to want to avenge that man, having heard half a story. So that's why the city of refuge is there. Go ahead.
Khan. Until he stand before the congregation in judgment.
And then you would go to the city of refuge and you would stand before the congregation and then they would hear every word. They would hear your story. Okay, this happened. You was cutting down trees and what? The tree dropped him. All right, you're swinging the axe. The head of the axe came off and hit him in the head. They would listen to all your story, the congregation, and then they would weigh up and decide, all right then, do you deserve to be punished by death or are you innocent in this case? So they would take it before the congregation while you're in the city of refuge, meaning this is why you're waiting for your trial and all of those kind of things. Go ahead.
Quran Khan. You shall give 3 cities on this side Jordan, and 3 cities shall ye give in the land of Canaan.
And they'll give 3 cities, and then we'll give another 3 cities on the other side. So there was 6 cities of refuge, man. And if you kill the man at unawares, you need to make it to that closest city of refuge, because know the Avenger is on his way looking for you, man. He's on his way to avenge his loved one that was lost by the hands of you. Even though it was an accident, he don't want to hear that, man. He's just out for blood. Try explaining something to an angry man. Try explaining something to a man who's lost somebody. You saying it was an accident, he ain't trying to hear it, man. And the city of refuge is for things like that. The city of refuge ain't for a man who murders someone. The city of refuge ain't for a man who's a rapist and a child molester. That's not for you, man. What was there for you was stones and all of those kind of things, man. Stones was there for you. Why? Because people was meant to stone you to death for those acts. You doing those things, you was meant to be put to death for those acts. The city of refuge was for a man who killed someone by accident, man. It's not for child molesters and rapists and all of those kind of things. It ain't like the oppressors witness protection, or it ain't like where the oppressor, you commit a crime and it gives you a new identity, with the men that kidnapped that little boy on the train tracks and killed him. It ain't for people like that, man, where you get a new identity, where you get a new ID, a new name, all of those kind of things, a brand new identity. No, it's not for things like that, man. The city of refuge is for a man who accidentally killed someone, not for what was that man's name, Haki, and then they killed the little boy on the train track? Was it John Venables?
James Bulger.
Yeah, James Bulger. He does the little boy, right?
Yeah, he tied him to the tracks.
Yeah, so it's not for people like James Bulger's killers. It's not for those kind of people, man. It's not for John Venables in them. The city of refuge is for what? An innocent man who just accidentally killed someone. Why? Because accidents happen sometimes. But like I said, try explaining that to somebody's loved one. They don't want to hear it. Go ahead.
Quran Khan. These 6 cities shall be a refuge, both for the children of Israel and for the stranger.
Go ahead.
And for the sojourner among them.
So these cities was for everyone. The stranger, the sojourner that dwells amongst us. These cities of refuge was there for that reason. Go ahead.
Quran Khan. That everyone that killeth any person unawares may flee thither.
And anyone that kills someone unawares by accident, they would do what? They would flee to the city of refuge, man. You would flee there, why? Because your life was in danger. Obviously now we don't have cities of refuge now. What you have now is these witness protection places, or these places where they move you away, where they move you far from the city. What's that thing called, Hakian, where you've been in a gang or whatever, and you snitch on everybody and they hide you away? Is it what, witness protection?
Yeah, witness protection, yeah.
Nowadays you have like your witness protection. So in this witness protection, it's their job to protect you. Now here, in the city of refuge, you was protected in the city of refuge. Why? Because the Avenger wanted to kill you, and as long as you was in that city, he couldn't kill you. Go ahead.
Quran Khan. And if he smite him with an instrument of iron, so that he die, he is a murderer.
And if you what?
And if he smite him with an instrument of iron, so that he die, he is a murderer. So
if you hit a man with anything and he dies, you're a murderer. So now this is letting you know the difference between a man that murders intentionally and a man that kills on accident. So if you hit someone in the head with an iron bar and they die, you're a murderer. Even though you say, oh, I didn't mean to kill them, but you smack them in the head with the iron bar and they die, you're still a murderer, man. So when you're doing these things, attacking your brothers and all of these things, you need to be careful, man. Because if your brother dies in the process, you're a murderer, man. Go ahead.
Quran Khan, the murderer shall surely be put to death.
The what?
The murderer shall be put to death.
So now, if you do these things intentionally, then by our law, you were supposed to be put to death. If you hit a man in the head and you crack his skull and he dies, you have to be put to death, man. If you stab a man and he dies, you have to be put to death. And what you'll see in our community is what? There's tons of murderers, man. People stabbing people left, right, and center. Every day there's knife crime on the news. By our law, if you killed a man, you wouldn't be going to jail. Like with us, we didn't have jails. It was punishable by what? Death or fines or whatever the punishment was. But there's no place where a man's going to put you in a cell and all of those kind of things. I believe the first instance of jail in the Bible is what? Joseph in Egypt. It's Joseph in Egypt, man. Obviously, they had jails. The Romans and those people had jails. But with us, if you're a rapist, there's no jail for you, man. We're not going to be feeding you and keeping you alive. What would happen is you'd be stoned in front of all of Israel, and then they would see, and then the next man who's even got rape on his mind, he would think, I'm not doing that because I saw what happened to such and such. That's the punishments that you would get based off our law. Go ahead.
Quran Khan. And if he smite him with throwing a stone.
And if you hit him by throwing stones, go ahead.
Wherewith he may die, and he die, he is a murderer.
And if you hit a man in the head, this is letting you know, listen, man, if you do certain things to a man and he dies, you're a murderer. Like if you stab a man and he dies, you're a murderer, man. If you shoot a man and he dies, you're a murderer. If you hit a man over the head with a baseball bat and he dies, you're a murderer, man. And that's something you have to live with, man. You do those things to a brother, you're a murderer. And our law back then, if you done those things, then you would have to die, man. And that right there would appease his family. At least his family would go to bed at night knowing, well, the man who murdered my child, he's not alive no more. The man who raped my daughter, he's not alive no more. That was justice, man. And that would help how black people sleep at night. But nowadays, what? Murderers in jail, having 3 meals a day, living a good life in jail, getting a job in the gym, watching the World Cup from their prison cell, taking pictures. That ain't really justice for the family, man. Whereas our law brought justice. Whereas if you was taught, if you murder someone, someone's going to murder you, you'd think, you know what? I'm not going to kill because what? I don't want to be killed. I'm not going to do this to someone because I don't want someone to do this to me. And we would all live in a better world and a better place. But nowadays, jails become like a joke. Everyone's in there watching the World Cup, taking pictures, treating it like it's a youth club. Obviously, people don't mind going to jail nowadays because they say it's comfy in there and it's chilling. Whereas our law, listen, man, getting hit with stones, that's not comfortable, man. Getting your hands tied behind your back and people throwing stones at your head, that's not comfortable. Read on.
Quran Khan. Wherewith he die, he is a murderer. The murderer shall surely be put to death.
The what?
The murderer shall surely be put to death.
Says the murderer shall surely be put to death, man. Go ahead.
Quran Khan. If he smite him with an hand, weapon of wood, wherewith he may die, and he die, he is a murderer.
Go ahead.
The murderer shall surely be put to death.
Go ahead.
The revenger of blood himself shall slay the murderer.
Says the revenger of blood himself. Now the revenger of blood himself is that man's family member, man. That man's family member, that woman's family member. That's the revenger of blood. So they're getting revenge for what you done to their loved one. So how our law works is if you used to murder a man, guess what? Their family would be coming to murder you, man. And then it don't stop. You know why? Because then your family's going to want to murder them. Their family's going to want to murder your family. And then we're going to be a nation that's just, can't let go. Whereas we could just draw a line in the sand and say, you know what? All right, let's start fresh from today. Let's start fresh from today where we can all live. Because if we had it our way, all of us would be dead by now, man. Because we kill each other over small things. So can you just imagine how much revenges of blood there would be? Read on.
The revenger of blood himself shall slay the murderer. When he meeteth him, he shall slay him.
And he shall slay him when he meeteth him, man. And he'll be going out looking for him. He'll be going around in the city asking anyone, yo, do you know where such and such is? Do you know where such and such is? And this man is coming to murder you, man. Why? Because you killed his loved one and he's coming to be the revenger of blood. And then once he kills you, then he feels appeased, man. He feels like, yeah, justice. Go ahead.
Quran Khan. But if he thrust him of hatred or hurt Salakia. But if he thrust him of hatred or hurl at him by laying of weight, that he die, or in enmity spite him with his hand, that he die, he that smote him shall surely be put to death, for he is a murderer.
So nice, going back to that again. If you lay in wait for someone, if you plan this attack, if you say, yo, I know where they're gonna be, they're gonna go to this barbecue later on tonight, they're gonna be in this club later on tonight. Is baby mum just around there? We're gonna wait from there. If you lay in wait, like so much black people do, you lay in wait and you load up your guns. Laying in wait is what? You getting your balaclava and your gloves and sitting in that car and knowing someone's gonna come around that corner, man. Waiting for the drop for when that man comes out the house. That's you laying in wait, man. And if you do those things, you're supposed to die, man. Now, if we knew that we were supposed to die by doing those things, maybe we would stop doing those things. Maybe we would say, you know what, we all want to live. But because we don't know we're supposed to die based off our actions, we just keep doing these things. Drive-by shootings, ski masks, leather gloves, laying in wait. That's what we do, man. We lay in wait. And once you lay in wait like that, just understand this, man. The Lord sees you as a murderer and there's going to be some punishment for you, man. Read on.
Khan. But if he thrusts him suddenly without enmity, or have cast upon him anything without lying of weight.
So now this is saying, if he thrust him suddenly without enmity, meaning you got no issue with this brother, you don't hate this brother, you got no issue with him, but you thrust him by accident. Go ahead.
Khan. Or with any stone wherewith a man may die, seeing him not, and cast it upon him, that he die, and not his enemy, neither sought his harm, then the congregation shall judge between the slayer.
So now, if this man didn't, if me and this man had no issues together, we had no issues, no enmity, we had no beef with each other, and I thrust him through, and he dies, then obviously there would be a council and whatnot. How can it be like me and you going to the gun range? If me and you got no issues with each other and we at the gun range, and I accidentally shoot you and you die, then we would have to go before the congregation. Whereas I couldn't explain to your family members why Hakian's not alive no more. I can't go to them while we went to the gun range and I accidentally shot him. They don't want to hear that, man. They don't want to hear you accidentally killed their loved one. So now you go before the congregation and everyone here would know, well, these two, they had a good relationship. They didn't hate each other. He's never spoke bad about him. He's never said he wants to kill him. So you'd go before the congregation and you'd say exactly what happened. You'd say, you know what? I was at the gun range shooting and I turned around and I accidentally pressed the trigger and it hit him. That's what you would say if that's what happened. But if you didn't like the brother and you're at the gun range and you just pop him in the head, everyone's going to know, yeah, he didn't like him. He used to speak evil of him. He wanted him dead for a long time. And then it will no longer be a coincidence, man. And then the revenger of blood, you'd be handed over to him. The congregation would hand you over to the revenger of blood, man. And he's going to deal with you how he sees fit and he's going to kill you, man. Whereas if it's an accident, then the people won't hand you over because then, obviously, you have to be forgiven for this crime that you've done. Read on.
It's like you, sir. If I may. Yeah, that's even the law in court now, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So this is basically the law of the what's on the land right now, right?
Right. And they use that still till this day. Because if I had an issue with you and I shoot you in the back of the head and it goes to court, I'm going to get a lot more jail time than if I killed you by accident. Or this is the law of the land today, basically. Like, let's say I see you and you're my enemy and I run you over and you die. I'm going to go to jail for a long time, man, because I've ran you over. But if I don't see you step out into the road and I knock you over by accident, then if I'm going the right speed limit, then I won't go to jail for your death. So the only thing is hard to do is explain to the family why their loved one's not coming home. Even if even if it was an accident, trying to explain to the family is going to be hard because many people won't want to let it go. So yeah, that's even the law today. If I see you in the road and I put my foot on the gas and say, "There's that nigga there, I hate him," and I run you over, I ain't getting a year and a half for dangerous driving. I'm gonna get life, man. They're gonna treat it like it's a murder. And if I'm driving my car and you step out in the road and I didn't see you, then we're gonna go before the judge, and I'm gonna say, "Judge, I didn't see him. I wasn't over the speed limit. I stopped at the scene. I tried to give him CPR. I phoned the ambulance." If you do all of those things, then the judge, you won't go to jail. You won't go to jail because the judge knows you didn't mean to do it. But if you just drove over someone, knocked them over and reversed back and drive back over them, you're going to jail for a long time. Mm-hmm. So yeah, you're right when you say this law is how our laws is today, because they do exactly the same thing in court. They weigh up the whole case and they go from there. Go ahead.
Hold on, Khan. Then the congregation shall judge between the slayer and the revenger of blood according to...
Then the congregation shall judge between the slayer and the avenger of blood. So if you're the one that killed the man by accident, you would be the slayer, and the man that's come to kill you, he would be the avenger of blood, and the congregation is going to judge, you know what? Hand him over to the avenger of blood. And in court today, they look at it like give him a life sentence. Back then, they would take your life. Nowadays, you just get a life sentence in jail. That's the difference. So now you just get a life sentence in jail. Back then, they would take your life. What verse you at?
25 now.
Go ahead.
Quran Khan. The congregation shall deliver the slayer out of the hand of the revenger of blood.
And then, if it was an accident, then the congregation would deliver the slayer out of the hand of the avenger of blood. Meaning this man's still mad. This man still wants to kill you, but what's stopping him from killing you is the people. What's stopping him from killing you is the congregation who's heard the matter and they ain't making an emotional decision. They're going based off the facts. So they're going based off the facts and they know you didn't mean to do it. It was an accident. Because sometimes accidents happen. Accidents happen sometimes. So now they hear your cause, they hear what the avenger of blood saying, and then they'll be like, nah, this man didn't mean to do it. So then they'll let you go. Go ahead. Well, they will keep you away from the avenger of blood. Go ahead.
And the congregation shall restore him to the city of his refuge.
And then the congregation will restore you back to the city of refuge. Because if you're not in that city of refuge, the avenger of blood is still going to kill you. Why? Because he's still hot about his family member dying. He don't care that you didn't mean to do it. So you would have to stay in one of them cities of refuge. I don't care if you're bored there, you would have to stay there. Because if you're outside of that city of refuge, and the avenger of blood spots you and kills you, then it's your own fault for not being at the city of refuge. So you'd have to stay there. It's like if you're in witness protection and you've got problems in Handsworth and you're in witness protection and they put you all the way in Essex or somewhere, and then you find your way back to Handsworth and the people that you're hiding from come and kill you, guess what? That's your own fault, man. The police is going to say, well, we did put him in witness protection and he left witness protection. He didn't follow the orders to stay in witness protection. That's the same thing back then. You leave that city of refuge, then it's your own fault, man. Go ahead.
Quran Khan. And he shall abide in it until death of the high priest.
And now he would stay there until the high priest dies, because the high priest gave the order that you stay in that city of refuge, and then you would stay there until the high priest dies. So you'd have to stay there for the entire life of the high priest. If the high priest is young at the time when you're in the city of refuge, if he's younger than you, shall I say, when you're at the city of refuge, chances are you're living on that city of refuge for the rest of your life. But if you're in that city of refuge and that priest dies tomorrow, then you can leave the city of refuge, man. If he dies in a year, you can leave the city of refuge. Go ahead.
Counter. Verse 26. But if the slayer shall at any time come without the border of the city of refuge, whether he was fled, and the revenger of blood find him without the borders of the city of his refuge, and the revenger of the blood kill the slayer, he shall not be guilty of blood.
So now, read that part one more time.
Quran Khan. But if the the slayer shall at any time come without the border of the city of his
And it
refuge.
says, if the slayer is the man who killed the man by accident, saying if he comes out of them borders of the city of refuge, go ahead.
Can't say. Salakia. And the revenger of blood find him without the borders, Salakia.
No, sir.
28. Because he should have remained in the city of his refuge until
And
the
you're supposed to remain in the city of your refuge, man. Because if you leave that city, then the revenger is going to slay you, man. Because the high priest said you stay in that city of refuge. You leave it, you're going to die. Go ahead.
Can't, Salakia. But after the death, Salakia.
No, sir.
But after the death of the high priest, the slayer shall return into the land of his possession.
And then after the death of the high priest, then the slayer can return to his land of possession. Then he can return to his land of possession. And then that revenger of blood can't kill you, man. Because if he does kill you, guess what? There's going to be a revenger of blood that's out to get him. And he's going to die. Why? Because he killed you when he wasn't supposed to. He harmed you when he wasn't supposed to. Go ahead.
Can't say. So these things shall be for a statute.
Slaki, what verse you at?
I'm now just going on to 29 with the Salakia. Hold on. Salakia, sir, I'm on 28.
Yeah, no, sir.
But after the death of the high priest, the slayer shall return into the land of his possession.
Go ahead.
29. So these things shall be for a statute of judgment unto you throughout your generations in all your dwellings.
And this shall be a statute of judgment unto you throughout your generations in all your dwellings. So we was meant to keep these everywhere we go. But obviously we're under the laws of our oppressor right now. So we don't have our own lands. We don't have no cities of refuge right now. We don't have none of these things. But when we go back into our land, best believe all of these things is coming back, man. There's going to be cities of refuge. There's going to be all these things. Because we're going back to how things was back then. People think that once we go into the kingdom, people's minds is going to be different. People think that people's not going to have a brain no more. You're still going to have a brain, man. The only difference is what? Everything on the TV ain't going to influence you to break God's laws and all of those kind of things. So what's going to be the standard? It would be righteousness. So righteousness is going to be the standard. And if there is some people that go aside out of that, best believe there is punishments for it. Because people think once we go into the kingdom, everyone's going to be perfect and they won't be able to do nothing wrong. The thing is, you have a choice, and if you do something wrong, there's going to be punishments for it. There's going to be punishments for it. So we're going back to how we used to be. Read on.
Verse 30. Whoso killeth any person, the murderer shall be put to death by the mouth of witnesses.
So now if you kill someone, then you shall be put to death by the mouth of witnesses. So if you kill someone and there's 2 or 3 witnesses, then you would have to be put to death. Now, you can't be put to death if there's no witnesses. Hold on, Hakim, do you know what the other precept is? Hold on. What's that one? Hold on, let me find it. Give me 1 second.
Fine.
All right, give me Deuteronomy chapter 21 and verse 6.
Can't. Deuteronomy chapter Salakia 26. Salakia, what was that say?
21 and verse 6.
21 and verse 6. Can't say. 21 and verse 6. Salakia. Yeah. And all the elders. So Deuteronomy 21 verse 6.
Hold on, wait a minute. Let me see. Let me see if So now it said you would have to be put to death with witnesses there. And this is why it's very important when the Bible talks about don't be a false witness. Nowadays, people think me calling you out of your name is a false witness. That's not a false witness. That's just me insulting you. A false witness is me taking the stand saying, I witnessed this man do this. That's what a false witness is. You know, when people say, oh, you're bearing false witness. Bearing false witness is you claiming to witness something. Like bearing false witness would be you claiming that you've seen this man commit a robbery or this man commit a murder when you haven't seen nothing. That's bearing false witness. Bearing false witness ain't me calling you a homosexual, because I ain't took no stand and said anything. I'm just calling you out of your name. So people usually get that mixed up. But hold on, let me see what I want here. Yeah, start from verse 1. So give me Deuteronomy 21 and verse 1. So now, if there's a murderer and he would be put to death off of the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, so there would have to be witnesses that seen it. This is a time before there was CCTV. Nowadays, now the CCTV would be a witness to these things. You would see it on CCTV, you would know exactly who did it. Back then, there was no CCTV, there was no cameras or nothing. So you needed eyewitnesses. Go ahead.
Deuteronomy 21, verse 1. If one be found slain in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee, to possess it, lying in the field, and it be not known whom have slayed him.
So now, if there's a man dead in the field and he's been murdered, and nobody knows who's killed him, now back in the 1900s, middle of 1900s, like when the mafia was killing people, if there was no witnesses, no one was going to jail. Why? Because this is a time before fingerprints. This is a time before they had all their medical science, their fingerprints, all of their ballistic tests, all of them little tests where you can see the blood splatters. This is a time before they had all of those things. So the mafia, with them, if they was killing people, the police couldn't solve the crime. But with us, we had a way to solve the crime, man. And this is how we solved the crime before all forensic science, which shows the Bible's way ahead of its time, man. Read on.
Quran Khan. Then thy elders and thy judges shall come forth, and they shall measure unto the cities which are round about him that is slain. And it shall be that the city which is next unto the slain man, even the elders of that city shall take an heifer, which have not been wrought with, and which have not drawn in the yoke.
Go ahead.
Quran Khan. And the elders of that city shall bring down the heifer unto the rough valley, which is neither aired or sown, and shall strike the head of the heifer there in the valley.
So now they'll kill the heifer. Go ahead.
Quran Khan. And the priests, the sons of Levi, shall come near, for them the Lord thy God have chosen to minister unto him, and to bless in the name of the Lord. And by their word shall every controversy and every stroke be tried.
And every controversy and every stroke will be tried. Why? Because these priests would come, they would all come together, and they would say, okay, then we're going to measure the cities roundabout. This man's been found in the field, and he ain't been dead for that long. The body's not decomposed or none of that stuff. So they would know, okay, then this man's body's still warm and whatnot. Rigor mortis and all of these things ain't kicked in yet. So they would know, okay, then he ain't been dead for that long. The killer's still close by. He must have gone to one of them next cities. Because when you kill a man, there's blood and everything everywhere. Go ahead.
So, like, if I may, sir.
Go ahead.
Oh, so basically, these were the scientists and the forensics officers of today, right? These were the equivalent to them in those days, right?
Like, these was the priests of the Lord. So, because these was the priests of the Lord, they would go there, and then what everybody else would have to do, they would have to come and wash their hands of this crime before the priests. And the Lord knows, these men don't know who done the crime, but the Lord does know who does the crime. So they know they can't read, they know they can't lie because the Lord sees everything. So what would happen is the man who's usually the murderer wouldn't really show up. And then everyone would know, well, there must be a reason why this person's not showing up. And then that's how they would know. Everyone would come and say, it wasn't me. I was doing this, I was doing that. And then the people that don't show up, then everybody knows, well, maybe they had something to do with it. So yeah, their conscience would let the people know that it was them. Because they wouldn't show up and wash their hands over this heifer to say it wasn't me.
Can't. So their guilty conscience would play
Yeah.
a part of their guilty. Right. Okay.
Yeah, so they wouldn't show up. So they wouldn't show up because they know if they show up, they're going to slip up somewhere and everyone's going to know it's them. So they would just stay away from it. And when they don't show up, then the priest would want to be like, well, why didn't you show up? It's like if you have a council and you don't show up to the council, then we know you're in the wrong. Why? Because you haven't shown up to the council. Whereas if you was in the right, you would show up to the council with all your evidence, your paperwork. If you just hide away from it and don't show up at all, chances are you're probably in the wrong. And that was the same thing back then. Go ahead.
Verse 6. And all the elders of the city that are next to the slain man shall wash their hands over the heifer that is beheaded in the valley. And they shall answer and say, our hands have not shed blood, Salakia. Our hands have not shed this blood, neither have our eyes seen it.
And they was to come and say, our hands have not shed this blood, and neither have our eyes seen it. Go ahead.
Verse 8. Be merciful, O Lord, unto thy people Israel, whom thou hast redeemed, and lay not innocent blood unto the people of Israel's charge.
And it says, lay not innocent blood on these people. So now they're trying to find out who it is, because they don't want all innocent people charged with blood that's nothing to do with them. Go ahead.
And the blood shall be forgiven them.
And yet they would do this, so it's forgiven them. So before the Lord punishes everybody, they would come before the heifer and say, listen, Lord, it's not us. We have nothing to do with it. They'll come before the priest. We have nothing to do with it. Because why? They want mercy from the Lord. And the man that did do it, he knows that the Lord knows he done it, so he ain't going to show up. So everybody else will show up, and then everyone will know, okay, well, maybe that man had something to do with it. Because at the time appointed, he didn't show his face. Go ahead.
So shalt thou put away the guilt of innocent blood from among you.
And they're going to put away the guilt of innocent blood. Go ahead.
When thou shalt do that which is right in the sight of the Lord, when thou goest forth to war against thine enemy, and the Lord thy God hath delivered them into thy hands, and thou hast taken them captive.
Hold on, wait, what verse you at?
It's like verse 9 to that, just well 10. That was.
Hold on,
10.
give me 1 second. Yeah, go ahead.
And seest among the captives a beautiful woman, and has a desire unto her, that thou wouldest have her to thy wife. Then thou shalt bring her home to thine house, and she shall.
Now, this is going into something else. This is just talking about now here. This is talking about when you go to war against your enemies. If you see a beautiful woman amongst the captives, then obviously what you would do, you would just take her to your house, pare her nails and so forth, and then she'll basically become your wife. That's going into something else. So that's talking about if you see a beautiful woman amongst the captives. Hold on, let me see which next part I wanted. I think there was a next chapter that I wanted, but hold on. The one that I was looking for must be in the other chapter. But obviously, this beautiful captive here, this ain't talking about a heathen woman. This is talking about a sister. So you're never going to find the excuse in the Bible to marry a heathen. When it says if you see a captives, a beautiful woman amongst the captives, this is talking about a sister. It says when you go to war against your enemies, and this was talking about us having our little tribal wars. And what you'll find is we had tribal wars when Benjamin and the men raped that woman. It's talking about those kind of tribal wars. So if you go to wars against your brothers, which we did have, we had wars with each other. And then if you see there's a beautiful woman, you just take her, shave her head, pare her nails. Why? Because she's like a casualty of war. And if you know anything about war and burning buildings, these women will have all smoke and rubble and everything in their hair and nails, and they're covered in black smoke and everything. So you would clean her up. So what you would do, you'd cut her hair white because it's full of rubble and blood and guts and everything from the war and smoke, and you'd pair her nails white because it's full of dirt and everything from the war. So you'd clean her up, and then over time you should mourn for her parents who probably fell in the battle, and then obviously this would become your woman. So that's what that's talking about. Hold on, let me see. Let me take me back to. Take me back to Deuteronomy chapter 19 and verse 4.
Okay.
So the one we're going to get now, this is the one that explains how someone dies at unawares.
Deuteronomy 19, verse 4. And this is the case of the slayer, which shall flee thither.
And this is the case of the slayer. Go ahead.
That he may live. Whoso killeth his neighbor ignorantly, whom he has
Tazanawa said brotherhood, which is brotherhood. Because imagine this sister's out there on her own, covered in rubble and dirt. So what you do is, she ain't got no father no more because they fell in the war. What you do is you clean her up and take her to your place. Now you don't treat her like a slave. This basically becomes your woman. So the brotherhood is, she's got no man to take care of her no more. Her parents fell in battle. You take her in and clean her up. And then, you just cut her hair, all the rubble's gone, it grows back, and then, she's good to go. Let her mourn for her parents, and then, that's your woman. Go ahead.
Whoso kill his neighbor ignorantly.
And now, the city of refuge is for someone like this who kills his neighbor ignorantly. Ignorantly means he didn't mean to do it. Ignorant means to not know. So he's done it by accident. Go ahead.
Whom he hated not in the past. Salakia.
And he
hated not in time past.
And he didn't hate this man in time past, meaning he didn't have no issue with this man. He didn't hate this man. He had no problem with this man. Go ahead.
As when a man goeth into the wood with his neighbor to hew wood.
So now this is talking about if a man goes into the woods with his neighbor to hew wood, to cut down wood. Go ahead. To cut down trees and so forth.
And his hand fetcheth a stroke with the axe to cut down the tree, and the head slippeth from the helve. So
now a man tries to cut down the tree with an axe, and the head of the axe comes out of the axe and hits this man in the head. Now that's an accident because you didn't know that was going to happen. It's like when people be playing around with guns. If you accidentally shoot your friend and you didn't mean to kill him, it's an accident. So things like that. But the way people be playing around with guns, like the crazy with them nowadays, they be pointing it at each other as a joke. Obviously, don't do all of that. This is more, these two men was working in the wood. He's gone to cut down the tree. The head of the axes came off the axe and hit someone in the head. Go ahead.
And lighteth upon his neighbor that he died.
And lands on his neighbor.
Lighteth upon his neighbor that he die. He shall flee into one of those cities and live.
And he should flee, and he would flee into one of them cities of refuge, because try explaining to someone's family member why their son's in the woods with an axe in his head. Try explaining that to them, that the axe the sharp part of the axe accidentally broke off and hit him in the head. Try explaining that. Try explaining, me and your son are best friends, but I accidentally shot him. Listen, man. Even the other day, people was mad at what's that Migos rapper's name again? Hakian. Quavo. People was mad at Quavo, saying, it's his fault why Takeoff's dead. Saying it's his fault why Takeoff's dead. When really, how's it his fault? He didn't know that Takeoff was going to get shot. He didn't know that someone was going to pull out a gun and start shooting. The city of refuge would be for people like that. Because the whole world is saying, it's Quavo's fault. It's his fault. Takeoff was the most relaxed person in the world. And because of Quavo's behavior, getting mad at a dice game, it got Takeoff killed. And the city of refuge would be for someone like Quavo, man. Because the whole world is turning against you, saying it's your fault. People want to do you harm because why they saying it's your fault. Loads of people's in the comments saying it's Quavo's fault. It's Quavo's fault. These times, it's not his fault, man. He didn't know he was going to get shot. Read on.
Lest the avenger of blood pursue the slayer, while his heart.
Lest the avenger of blood pursue the slayer. So he needs to get to one of them cities quick because the Avenger of Blood is on his way to kill him. Go ahead.
Kadon Khan, while his heart is hot and overtake him.
While his heart is hot, while this man's mad, the Avenger is mad because he's just found that he's lost a loved one, and what he wants to do is kill you. Go ahead.
Kadon Khan, because the way is long and Salakia, why his heart is hot and overtake him, because the way is long and slay him, whereas he was not worthy of death inasmuch as he hated him not in time past.
Whereas he didn't hate him that much. So now it's saying if the way is long, this is why they made numerous amount of cities, which means you would have to know which city is closest to you, man. You would need to know which city of refuge is closest to you. And with the cities of refuge, it's kind of like today they have what? A woman's refuge. They have a woman's refuge. And what happens at a woman's refuge? A woman's refuge is a place where women are safe from their husbands who beat them, man. It's a woman's home where they're safe from what? Their husbands that beat them, that attack them, that tried to kill them. That's what a woman's refuge is. They get all these things from the Bible. That's why they have a woman's refuge. Because why? They know domestic abuse is through the roof. And if you're in a woman's refuge, guess what? You're supposed to stay in that woman's refuge. Why? Because you're safe from harm. Now, if you leave that woman's refuge and you go back to that man that's beating you and he kills you, guess what happens? It's your own fault because you left that refuge, man. That refuge is there for your safety. And if you're a woman that's beaten by a husband and he's almost killed you 3 or 4 times, and you made it to this woman's refuge by the mercy of the Lord, you made it there, you're safe from harm now. Why? Because this man can't get into the refuge because they have security. They have all these gates. He won't know where your room is. He won't know what refuge you're in. Now, if you contact him and say, yeah, come and pick me up from this place, from the refuge, you jump in his car and he kills you, that's your own fault, man. And likewise, it would be your own fault if you leave that refuge and the Avenger of Blood comes and catches you. That'd be your own fault. Read on.
Kadon Khan, wherefore I commanded thee, saying, thou shalt separate 3 cities for thee.
What verse you at?
6, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
Salakia. Salakia, that was 7, Salakia.
No, sir. All right, yeah, you can drop that. Give me Deuteronomy chapter 4 and verse 41.
Khan. 4 and 41. When Salakia, so Deuteronomy 4 and 41.
41.
Khan. Then Moses severed 3 cities on this side Jordan toward the sunrising, that the slayer might flee thither, which should kill his neighbor unawares.
So now Moses separated 3 cities. Go ahead.
Khan, and hated him not in time past, and that fleeing unto one of these cities he might live.
So now you'd flee to one of these cities so you could live. So that's the whole point of you fleeing to the city of refuge. That's why women go to a women's refuge, right? Because they want to live. Now, if they didn't want to live, they wouldn't go to a woman's refuge. Imagine being a woman getting beaten half to death every single day. Every day this man comes home is trying to kill you and beat you and all of these kind of things. Women pack up and go to a women's refuge, man. One day you will come home and you will open the door and you realize the woman and the kids ain't there no more. You realize they're not there no more. And there's nothing left. There's no note. You're searching for them. You can't find them. And then you might hear from a family member, oh, you're in a woman's refuge. That's all you're going to get. You can't go to that refuge because you're not going to get in, man. You can wait outside there for the rest of your life. You're not going to get in. But if that woman leaves the refuge and agrees to come back home with you, whatever happens to her is her problem. But drop that. Give me Joshua chapter 20 and verse 1. Let me see if this is the right one.
Joshua 20 verse 1. Joshua 20 verse 1. The Lord spoke unto Joshua, saying, speak to the children of Israel, saying, appoint out for you cities of refuge. Wherefore I spake unto you by the hand of Moses.
So now, this is the book of Joshua talking about the city of refuge. Before, it was written in the law, and Joshua is right after the law. Go ahead.
Khan. That the slayer that killeth any person unawares and unwittingly may flee thither. And they shall be your refuge from the avenger of blood.
And they shall be your refuge from the avenger of blood. Go ahead.
Khan. And when he that doth flee unto one of those cities shall stand at the entering of the gate of the city.
So now you'd flee to one of this is what you would do. You'd flee to one of the cities of refuge, and you would stand at the gate of the city. Go ahead.
Khan, and shall declare his cause in the ears.
And you would declare your cause. You say, I didn't mean to kill that man. It was never the plan. It wasn't premeditated. I had no issue with him prior. I didn't mean to do it. So you'd plead your cause. You'd be at the gate and you'd be pleading your cause. And the avenger of blood would be at the gate. And the congregation would be at the gate. And everyone's listening to your cause. And the avenger of blood is saying, pass him over to me. And you're trying to convince the congregation that, look, it wasn't premeditated, man. And then they would hear and they would decide if they're going to give you over to the avenger of blood, or if they're going to hear your cause and you stay in the city of refuge, then everyone just goes home and leaves it at that. Go ahead.
Khan. Shall declare his cause in the ears of the elders of that city.
And you declare your cause in the ears of the elders of that city. So now the wise men of that city would come and hear your cause. They would pull out the law and they would listen. They would pull out the law and see, oh, was it premeditated? They would read the laws that we've just read. And that's what they would go by. They would go by that. Okay, it was an accident. All right, we can't give him to the avenger of blood. Or they would go by, he done it on purpose. We're giving him over to the avenger of blood. So they would do it based off what the law says, based off what you say, and based off how the law is. They'll do it based off that. Go ahead.
Khan. They shall take him into the city unto them and give him a place that he may dwell among them.
So now they'll take him to the city and then you would stay there. Go ahead.
Khan. And if the avenger of blood pursue after him, then they shall not deliver the slayer up into his hand.
So now if the avenger of blood can't let it go and he's still trying to kill you, then they won't deliver you into his hands, man. They will protect you because the city of refuge is a place of protection. So they will protect you because obviously you killed a man by accident and this person can't let it go. And sometimes accidents happen, man, and we have to learn to let things go. Accidents happen and we need to learn to let things go, man. Or what's going to happen? You're going to be what? Wake up every day trying to kill this man. Let it go, man, and say, damn, it was an accident. Accidents happen, man. And try and move past it. It's sad and I know it hurts, but eventually you're going to have to move past it. He didn't do it on purpose. Go ahead.
Khan. Because he smote his neighbor unwittingly.
And he smote him unwittingly, meaning he didn't do it on purpose. Because if he did do it on purpose, then this man would die. Why? Because if you kill someone, you're supposed to be killed the same way. If you harm someone, you're supposed to be harmed. And this man is not being harmed. Why? Because he didn't kill him unwittingly. Only you want to harm him. Why? Because you're angry and you're mad. Whereas you should look at this and be like, wow, the wise men of the city are saying it wasn't on purpose. Maybe I should start pursuing this man. The wise men of the city deemed it was an accident. Maybe I should understand it was an accident and not try to harm this man. Maybe I should stop pursuing this man. Maybe I should stop pursuing this man because he didn't do it on purpose. Maybe if I killed someone by accident, I wouldn't want someone to pursue me continuously. I would want someone to forgive me and have mercy on me. That's how the avenger of blood should look at it. But when your mind ain't clear, you ain't going to look at it that way. You're just out to get blood because you're angry and you're miserable. Whereas if you had killed someone by accident, you'd want all the mercy in the world. You'd want everyone to forgive you. So you also have to forgive somebody else, man. You can't be the avenger of blood forever knowing that it was an accident, still wanting to kill someone. There comes a time where you have to do what? Let go, man. There comes a time where you have to let go. Go ahead.
Khan. And hated him not before time.
And they didn't hate him before time, meaning they didn't do it on purpose. They didn't have no issue with him. Go ahead.
Khan, verse 6. And he shall dwell in that city until he stand before the congregation for judgment.
And then he would dwell in that city until his trial comes, man. He would stay there until his judgment comes, and then his judgment will come, and his judgment could either be hand him over to that man for him to deal with him, or he just stays in the city of refuge because he's innocent. What verse you at?
End of 6 now, sir.
Go ahead.
Karawan Khan. That's still like in the middle of 6.
No, sir.
And unto the death of the high priest that shall be in those days, then shall the slayer return and come unto his own city, and unto his own house, and unto the city from whence he fled.
So he fled from his city and his house, and now once the high priest dies, then he can return to his city. And that man can't kill him no more, even if that man's mad at him, he still can't kill him. Why? Because the time's passed, the high priest has died, and that's forgotten about now. But if he still pursues him and kills him, then that man's in the wrong and he's going to be killed. So once the high priest dies, you can leave the city of refuge and return back to your own city. Now give me 2 Samuel chapter 2 and verse 18. Now this is a man that couldn't get over it. This is a man that couldn't get over the death of his brother, which was an accident. Well, it weren't meant to go that far. Hold on, give me 1 second. Let me get there.
Come. 2 Samuel. So like a 2 Samuel, what, sir? If I could.
2 Samuel chapter 2 and verse 18, I believe.
Can't say. 2 and 18. 2 Samuel 2. Verse 18.
Hold on 1 second. Let me see if that's the right one.
Can't.
Yeah, 2 Samuel. Like I was in 2 Samuel, the 18th chapter.
Karawan Khan. 2 Samuel 2, verse 18.
Yeah, Carl, let me just get there with you. Kanye, go ahead.
Yeah, Kanta. And there were 3 sons of Zeruiah. Zeruiah. Zariah there. And there were 3 sons of Zariah there. Joab and Abishai and Asahel. And Asahel was as light of foot as a wild roe.
And this was a young brother full of energy. So at the time you had what? David's men fighting against Saul's men. So David's men was fighting against Saul's men. Why? For the kingdom. Saul had his loyal men. David had his loyal men. And these men had issues with each other. And these men here, Asahel and them, they was David's men. I believe Abner was one of Saul's men. Go ahead.
And Asahel pursued after Abner.
And this man kept trying to fight Abner, kept trying to go to war with him. But while it is, Abner was a warrior who was a grown man, and Asahel was a young boy. And he used to always say to him, look, man, fight someone your own age. He used to say to him, fight someone your own age. Asahel keeps going for him. And Abner's like, yo, fight somebody your own age. Go ahead.
Karawan Khan. And in going, he turned not to the right hand nor to the left from following Abner.
So he kept goading Abner, trying to fight him. And Abner's giving him chance after chance. Abner's like, look, man, you're a little boy. I'm not going to fight you, man. Fight somebody your own age. Go fight somebody your own age. Go find someone your own age and fight with them. Go ahead.
Karawan Khan. Then Abner looked behind him and said, art thou Asahel? And he answered, I am.
So now he's behind him again. Go ahead.
Karawan Khan. And Abner said to him, turn thee aside to thy right hand or to thy left, and lay thee hold on one of the young men, and take thee his armor. So
now he's saying, look, man, look left or right and fight one of these young men, man. Fight one of these young men. Look left or right and fight one of these young men. Because I'm just saying, yo, I'm a grown man to you, man. You keep pursuing me. I'm a grown man to you. Look left and right and fight one of these young men. Go ahead.
Quran Khan. But Abishai would not turn aside from following of him. So, like, if I may, sir,
Go ahead.
do they have age in this? Was this within Israel at the time? Were they a people at this time?
Yes, there was a people, but what this was once Saul had issues with David.
Right.
So David had his men and Saul had his men. So there was some men that believed Saul should be king. There was some men that believed David should be king.
Right.
So these was their men, and these men was fighting each other over the kingdom, over Saul and David.
Right. Okay.
So that was their issue. So this man kept trying to fight Abner because he was what I believe Asahel was one of David's men in the beginning. This is at the time when Abner was one of Saul's men. But obviously after Abner had a meeting with David, obviously this way after.
Did they not have no protocols, sir? Like any protocols there?
As in,
to try and sort out something. If there are people, wouldn't they, try and bring it to the congregation or something like that?
see, the thing is, what it is, you see, when you got two kings, it becomes difficult because some people believe they should follow this man. Some men believe they should follow this man. And Saul's men believe, nah, Saul's the rightful king, we should follow Saul. And remember, Saul hated David. So all the men that was with Saul, they didn't like David also. The men that liked David didn't like Saul. So then it became like a war. And in unifying the kingdom, David had to fight to unify the kingdom. So for David to unify all Israel, they had to fight. And once they got the victories, that's when Israel was unified. So it's kind of like now with us and these fake Israelite groups, we have to go out there and say, look, these is fake Israelites, man, until everyone gets the message and comes back home, until everyone can be unified under commanding General Yana. So it's the same thing that we do until this day.
Right.
So they were just doing it, obviously, back then, just with spears and swords and all of them things.
Right, understood, sir.
So yeah, same kind of thing. What verse was you at?
The end of 21 now.
All right, go ahead.
But Ashael would not turn aside from following of him.
So he just wanted Abner. He just wanted to fight him. He just kept trying, and Abner was giving him mercy, man, saying, "Look, you're young. I've been a warrior for a long time. Go fight somebody old age, man. Go fight one of the young men." And Asahel, he ain't leaving it, man. He's not letting up. Go ahead.
Then and Abner said unto Asahel, turn thee aside from following me. Wherefore should I smite thee to the ground?
And he said, look, man, you're not on my level. You're younger than me. Fight somebody else. Why should I smite you? And Abner's trying to avoid it, man. He's trying to avoid it. Why? Because he knows Asahel's some little boy. He knows, why would I fight Asahel? If anything, I'll go fight Joab, who's more my size. Go ahead.
Quran Khan, how then should I hold up my face to Joab, thy brother?
And he said, what he said is, he's basically saying, look, if I harm you, how could I hold up my face to you, brother, man? You're a little boy, and I'm not going to get nothing from harming you. You watched that movie, Troy, where he kills the younger brother, right? It's kind of like that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that, where in the movie Troy, he killed the younger brother by accident, right? Well, not accident, but he thought it was the big brother he was fighting. Because the younger brother put on the older brother's armor. So he thought he was fighting the older brother, and he killed him. You know, it wouldn't surprise me if Troy got that from the Bible.
Right. Yeah.
It sounds kind of similar to me. Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? But it sounds a little too similar to me.
It does actually.
Sounds a little too similar. So like I say that again, Hakian.
He ran off with the other man's wife.
Is that what he did in there?
Yeah, he ran off with the one of the I think king, one of his wives, one of his kind of one of his sidemen's wives, took his wife, and he's supposed to be punishable. So he was supposed to fight the man who he stole the wife from.
Oh, is that what it's about?
Yeah, that last bit there, yeah. Come on.
I can't lie, that was a good movie though, but I don't think I've watched it all. It's too long.
Yeah, Troy's serious there.
It's a good movie.
I've watched it about 4 times. I like it.
You know, I like it as well, man. It's one movie that I could say is good. I don't know what's going on in the storyline. I just know they're always fighting over. All I know is the man comes out the gates and gets killed. I don't know who the hell it is, but which one's Troy?
Troy is Brad Pitt. So like you say, your screen has gone up a little bit.
Hold on. Yeah, it should be back now. Yeah, it's back.
No, sir, I'm just putting the charge in the computer, sir.
Yeah, no sweat.
Yeah, it's just running a little bit low.
Right, no sweat.
Yeah. 2 seconds.
What verse was we at?
So lucky we're on verse 20. 23 now, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
Howbeit he refused to turn aside, wherefore Abner with the hinder end of the spear smote him under the 5th rib.
So now it keeps on provoking Abner, and then Abner with the hinder end of the spear, meaning the spear is a long stick with a sharp part on the end. I'm sure they call it the spear butt, which is the back part. So he's just poked him with the back part. But then it killed this young boy because Abner's so big and strong. So it went through him and he died. Go ahead.
That the spear came out behind him.
And it went all the way through him. So he's pushed him with this back of the spear because he's not meaning to kill him. He's just teaching him a lesson, like, just go away, man. And the spear's gone through him, the back of the spear. Go ahead.
I can't understand that, sir. Salakia. So how does that work then? So what's it, Salakia? Can you just show me how that went? So he had the top end of the spear, as in like he's holding the spear up here like this.
He's holding it like that.
Top end is here, and he's kind of boxed it way like this to the right or something.
So while it is holding the spear's up like this. So just think it's a stick going up like this, and the guy's behind him. So the front part, the sharp part of the spear is here, but it's hitting with the back part of it.
Oh shit, Salakia.
So the back part has gone through his 5th rib and come out his back.
Damn.
So, so that must have damaged some organs, and that's how he died. Which lets you know, man, these warriors didn't know their strength, man. So the reason he used the back of the spear is because he's not supposed to kill him. He's just trying to push him away. Like sometimes you see these programs where someone accidentally pushes someone down the stairs, even though I don't believe that's an accident. So lucky. Pushing someone by the stairs is dangerous anyway. All these programs, a man pushes his wife down the stairs. That's by accident. It says that ain't no accident. What Abner did was an accident. Because now Ahasal kept pressing him, trying to fight him. And he's like, look, man, you're a kid. Go fight somebody. And this is why I told him, go fight somebody your own age. Go fight somebody your own age. And this kid kept trying to fight him until Abner said, move, man. And in him wanting this kid to go away from him, what happened? It ended up killing him. The what's it called went through his ribs, man. It went through his ribs and came out his back. Go ahead.
What Salakia, sir, if I may.
Go ahead.
What we would call provocation now, wouldn't you? You'd call it provocation, like. Yeah,
because it's following him, and it says it's not turning from the left to the right, and it's pressing him daily so much that Abner's turning around like, is it you again? And he's like, yes, me, fight me. And they say, look, man, why would I fight you? Because how could I look job in the face if I fight you, man? You're a kid. Obviously, no one gets no props from killing a little kid. And it's just like, move from me, man. It's like sometimes if you push a little kid that's a lot weaker than you, chances are you don't expect them to go that far. Like, you just push them like that, and they go flying, and you're like, damn, I didn't imagine the kid's trying to fight and you just give him a little push and he falls in the road and the car hits him. You didn't mean for that to happen. You're just pushing him, like, just move away. It's like, go ahead, was you gonna say something?
Yeah, I was just gonna say something to add to that. It's like those the young guys who kind of gassed up a little bit, you know what I mean? And they're trying to basically got something to prove, right? Mm-hmm. That's what Ashel reminds me of. A youth that's kind of gassed up, and he's got something to prove to somebody, You know what I mean? Because he's not leaving him alone, and it shows that he's got something to prove. Would I be right in seeing it like that, or
You'll be 100% right? Because just imagine if he fights Abner and he defeats Abner. Just imagine what he would get. So in his mind, he's saying, "Damn, if he defeats him, he knows. All right, then everyone's going to look at him as like a warrior." And Abner's like the thing is this: there's levels in between them. He's trying to fight this grown man, and this grown man saying, "Yo, you're a little boy, man. You're a little boy." And then put it this way, it'd be like putting some kid in there with Mike Tyson. If Mike Tyson hits him once, he's probably going to kill the kid, man. But if the kid beats Mike Tyson, what's everyone going to say? Yo, this is the man that defeated Mike Tyson. So now Abner's got nothing to prove by killing this Asahel. So what? He just pushed him with the back of the spear, and it happened to kill him, man. He died, and then obviously his family couldn't let it go. Hold on, what verse you at?
Yeah, can't. So I'm just in middle of 23. We haven't gone to that part yet where the family.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
And he fell down there and died in the same place.
And he fell there and died, man. He died right there, and Abner didn't mean to kill him. Hold on, let me see.
I'm on the part where it says that as many as came to the place where.
Yeah, go ahead.
Come on, Khan. That as many as came to the place where Ashel fell down and died stood still.
And they stood still, man. This is Job's little brother. So now, imagine Job hearing this man killed his brother. What's he going to do? He's going to want to be the avenger of blood, man. He's going to want to go and kill Abner. Whereas it was an accident. But try explaining to a black man, I killed your little brother by accident. You know how the conversation's going to go?
Well, it's like you said.
Go ahead.
If you're a Christian, you might do it, man. You might be all right. You know what I mean? I know the point of what you're trying to say, sir, but do you remember the guy in I'm not trying to take away from what you're saying. I understand totally the sentiment in what you're saying here. Do you remember the guy who hugged the flipping police officer in the damn court?
And the reason they done that is because we love white people, but when it comes to our own black people, right? I need to find the tape where a black man forgives another. I don't think I've seen one. I need to see if I can find one day. But with us, we're scared of the oppressor, we forgive them. But to see a black man forgive a black man, I don't think I've seen it. I've only seen that inside these doors. Outside of these doors, I don't think that exists. So yeah, he hit him with the back of the spear, and that killed him. And it was an accident. He didn't do it on purpose, because if he did want to do it on purpose, guess what he could have done? He could have fought him and hit him with the front of the spear. That's what he could have done. He could have killed him on numerous occasions. Is there any more on that? Is that about it?
There's still some more. Joab also and Abishai pursued after Abner.
Yeah, so they pursued after Abner, man. Why? Because they heard someone killed their little brother, man. And they're thinking, damn, we ain't letting this slide. So they pursued after Abner. Go ahead.
And the sun went down when they came to the hill of the. Actually,
drop that. Take it to 2 Samuel chapter 3 and verse 26. Actually,
Second Samuel 3, 26. And when Joab was come out from David, he said.
So now this is after Joab had a meeting with David. Joab went to speak with David. Go ahead.
He sent messages after Abner, which brought him again.
And Joab was not meant to kill Abner. Joab wasn't meant to do it, but he did it. Go ahead.
From the well of Sirah. From the well of Sirah.
What verse are you reading?
Verse 20, end of 26, sir.
26. Hold on, where are you? Yes, Sirah.
The well of Sirah. But David knew it not.
So now David didn't know nothing about what Joab getting ready to go kill Abner. He knew it not. Go ahead.
And when Abner was returned to Hebron, Joab took him aside. So
now Joab returned to Hebron. So they've set him up. Joab has got Abner back there, and they're in Hebron. Go ahead.
In the gate to speak with him quietly.
And Joab ain't letting it go. Joab should have let this go because it was an accident. And this is why we need to let things go, man. Because if you don't let things go, guess what happens? You spend your whole life trying to kill your brother, man. You spend your whole life angry and mad at your brother and finding ways to kill them. And this is exactly what Joab did. Spent his whole life trying to kill Abner. So much that is setting him up, man. Whereas the Bible says in the previous one of the previous verses we read, it says what was it saying again? It said you lay in wait. What he done, it goes, if you lay in wait and murder a man, you should be murdered. And what Joab did, he laid in wait, man. He laid in wait for Abner so he could kill him. He broke the whole law, man. So he's out there breaking the law. He laid in wait for Abner, whereas he could have did what? Been merciful and said, you know what? It was an accident.
So
it was an accident. I'm going to let it slide. Like I said, go ahead.
So like you said, yeah, just to add to that, I mean, the whole of our black community, our Israel community, and our killings and murdering is based on unforgiveness.
Right.
We don't forgive each other. We, always we want to be, unforgiving, and we want to kill each other for less than nothing. And that's the whole madness in our community, isn't it? Trying to murder each other for what? Just because he's got a pair of this clothes on, or he look like he's shining and flossing, and you hate this brother because of that, and you can't deal with your own kind of insecurities. Deal with the brother and deal with him in love.
That's it.
That's our problem in this world. I think that would stop a lot of black on black crime. I think, don't you?
Right. And this is why. And this is why when Christ was on the scene, Christ said, "Love your enemies, man. Forgive your brothers." That's why Christ was saying these things. Why? Because all throughout the records, you had what? Abner kills Joab's brother. Joab kills Abner. Someone else kills Joab. And Christ said, "You don't resist. You resist not evil." Meaning what? We don't stop evil. We always have to even the score. We have to do more. If you do evil to me, I have to do more evil to you.
Yeah.
You have to do more evil to me. And Christ came and Christ taught brotherhood, man. And that's why Christ said, look, man, love your enemies, bless those that curse you, bless those that despitefully use you. Why? Because Christ was trying to put an end to black on black crime, man. Like you read that chapter in Matthew, the 5th chapter. That's Christ putting an end to black on black crime right there, man.
That's
Whereas you leave it up to us. You're going to kill my brother and I'm going to kill your brother. And then you're going to kill one of my brothers and I'm going to kill one of your brothers. Christ said, we resist not evil. Whereas it was evil that you killed my brother. But it's evil that I kill your brother. Christ said, we don't resist evil. Resisting evil would be me saying, you know what? You killed my brother, but I'm not going to kill your brother. That's us resisting the evil. We don't resist it. We just keep doing more evil and more evil to one another. And that's why when Christ came on the scene, he was breaking down brotherhood, letting them know, look, love your enemies of Israel. Do this. Bless those that use you and all of those kind of things. Why? Because if Christ didn't say all of those things, guess what would have happened? The killing would have continued, would have continued. And Christ was putting a stop to it, man. Christians read the scriptures and think he's talking about them. Nah, man. Christ is talking about what? Black on black crime and what we was dealing with.
That's
the
right.
Problems that we had, the problems with Joab and Abner and all of those things, man.
That's right.
Now, after Abner killed Joab's brother, Joab could have said, you know what? It was an accident. I'm going to let it slide. And then him and Abner could have what? Sat down and, you get me, worked something out, man. They could have sat down and worked something out. And they could have come to some, understanding. But then Joab didn't resist the evil. And then he went and killed Abner. And we're going to read and let's see what happened. So what verse we at?
27, sir.
Go ahead.
And when Abner was returned to Hebron, Joab took him aside in the gate to speak with him quietly. Salakia. Abner returned Hebron. Salakia. Joab took him. Okay. So Salakia, if I may, sir. If I may. So basically, Joab took Abner, who's killed his brother, aside now to talk to him quietly, like the Bible tells us to do, right?
See, he's took him aside quietly, but not to talk.
Oh,
But
okay.
Abner would have believed he's come to talk to him.
Right. Okay.
The way how Joab's done this is how Cain done it with Abel. Took him to a field and was speaking and suddenly killed him.
Right.
He done it the same way.
Calm.
The same way black men do this today. Like, oh yeah, just come, let's talk. Put their arm around you, take you around one corner and start stabbing you, man.
Salakia, sir. That reminded me of something Salakia, I'm ashamed of till this day. Yeah, that's what I did, you know. Put
Listen.
the arm around, made him feel comfortable.
See?
Took him in the house and just madness.
Listen, and that's how you know this Bible's talking about us.
That's right, man. 100%.
We make you think, we phone you, don't worry, man, the squash, man, it's sorted, man. Yeah, just come, let's speak face to face. And then face to face, the other brother's thinking, yeah, we've sorted it out. And that's how tons of people get set up. You go around the corner, there's 50 niggas around the corner, man. And listen, man, the same things that we do today is the same thing that they was doing back then. Because they're niggas like us who's not following the law.
Right.
And when you're not following the law,
that's right.
When you're not following the law, we all think the same way. And that's why we all need to follow the law so we all can think the right way. Because what you'll find is every black man without the law always thinks the same way on the wrong side of things.
Right.
So we need to follow the law and learn how to think the right way.
Right.
So yeah, he took him aside quietly. Go ahead.
Very done. To speak with him quietly and smote him there under the fifth rib. That he died.
Under the fifth rib, man.
Same place.
There you go. He said, yo, what you done to my brother, I'm going to do to you. Read that part one more time.
Kadwan Khan. Joab took him aside in the gate, Salakia, and when Abner was returned to Hebron, Joab took him aside in the gate to speak with him quietly and smote him there under the fifth rib that he died.
And he smote him under the fifth rib. And now, if you look at the fifth rib, what organs under your fifth rib? I believe it's your liver. So
which side is it, sir?
I'm sure it might be your left side. If my recollection is correct.
One side is 6, isn't it? And one side is
yeah, so it more than likely is your liver.
Can't.
So it might have been it might have been his liver. So it's smote him under the fifth rib.
So Salakia, is that actually that is a place to kill somebody, isn't it? Like is it like a where they were trained in war, wasn't they? So they know certain parts of the body to.
Yeah, they know certain parts where if I stab someone here, they're gonna die quicker than even us who ain't trained in war. We know if I stab a man in his heart, he's gonna die. We know if I stab a man in the neck and it hits a vein, he's gonna die. So even us who ain't trained in war kind of know certain things. And this is why when people go to stab you, they don't stab you in places where they know you're probably not gonna die. A man don't stab you in your hand because he knows chances are you're gonna survive. So what a man does do, stabs you in your stomach area because he knows you're more than likely to die. So he smote him under the fifth rib, which would have been could have been towards his liver or whatnot. What verse you at?
Well, going on to 28 now.
Go ahead.
That he died for the blood of Ashel, his brother.
And he died for the blood of his brother. So what? He avenged his brother when he was not supposed to. He was supposed to let bygones be bygones, but he couldn't let it go, man. He couldn't let it go, and he had to go and kill something. Go ahead.
But Salakia, sir, he wasn't in the city of Refuge at this time, was he?
But he wasn't supposed to kill him though.
Okay.
So he should have let it go.
Can't.
He didn't get no order from David to do these things.
Okay, right.
So he had no order from the king or nobody to do these things. He had no orders from the priest or anybody to do these things.
Right. Okay.
And he took it upon himself because he couldn't let it go. And all the time he knew it was an accident and he just couldn't let it go. he said, I'm going to kill him, I'm going to kill him. And he ended up doing it, man. What verse you at?
28, sir.
Go ahead.
And afterward David heard it and said, I and my kingdom are guiltless for the Lord, before the Lord.
So now David said, I and my kingdom are guiltless before the Lord, meaning what? We wasn't a part of this setup, man. We wasn't a part of this plan. We had nothing to do with it. They're saying we guiltless before the Lord. We wasn't aware that this was going to happen. Go ahead.
Before the Lord forever, from the blood of Abner, the son of Ner.
Go ahead.
Let it rest on the head of Joab and on all his father's house, and let there not fail from the house of Joab one that have an issue, or that is a leper, or that leaneth on the staff.
So he basically said, you know what? Basically curse the house of Joab. Basically, go ahead.
Khan. Do you want me to read that again, sir? Or
Yeah, go ahead. You can read it again.
Khan. Let it rest on the head of Joab and on all his father's house, and let there not be fail from the house of Joab one that have an issue, or that is a leper, or that leaneth on a staff, or that falleth on the sword, or that lacketh bread. So Joab and Abishai, his brother, slew Abner, because he had slain their brother Ashil at Gibeon in the battle.
Go ahead.
Khan, verse 31. And David said to Joab and to all the people that were with him, rend your clothes and gird you with sackcloth and mourn before Abner.
And he said, mourn for Abner. Hold on, for time's sake, give me 1 Kings chapter 2 and verse 1.
God. Khan. 1 Kings chapter 2, verse 1. Ready, sir?
Yeah, go ahead.
Now the days of David drew nigh, and he said, and
so now now it says the days of David drew not nigh, meaning now David's old in age, David's ready to die. Go ahead.
And he charged Solomon his son, saying, I go the way of all the earth.
And he said, I go the way of all the earth, meaning I'm old now, and once you get old, we all gotta die sometime. He said, it's time for me to die. I go the way of all the earth. Go ahead.
Be thou strong, therefore, and show thyself a man.
And he's giving him courage. He's saying, be strong and show yourself a man. Be strong and show yourself a man. That's what he's saying. Be strong, courageous, and be a man about everything. Go ahead.
Khan. And keep the charge of the Lord thy God.
And he said, keep the charge of the Lord thy God, meaning keep his laws, statutes, and commandments. So he's giving his son courage, right? Because he knows he's going to die soon and he ain't going to be there to oversee things. So he's laying it down to Solomon, and Solomon's supposed to follow these things. Obviously, he didn't in his old age, because obviously he got them heathen wives who threw him off, made him do all kinds of things. But go ahead.
Khan. To keep his statutes and his commandments and his judgments and his testimonies.
And it's to keep his statutes, his judgments, his commandments, and his testimonies. Go ahead.
What's lucky, sir? What would the testimonies be, if I could?
The testimonies would basically be the same thing as the law, statutes, commandments, and judgments, and then whatever else the Lord says. So just think of it like it would just be whatever the Lord says.
Khan, sir.
So keep all of those things.
Khan. As it is written in the law of Moses, that thou mayest prosper in all thou doest.
It says, as it's written in the law of Moses, that you'll prosper in all your doings. Go ahead.
And whithersoever thou turnest thyself.
Go ahead.
That the Lord may continue his word which he spake concerning me, saying, if thy children take heed to their way, to walk before me with truth, Salakia, to walk before me in truth, with all their heart and with all their soul, there shall not fail thee, said he, a man on the throne of Israel.
Go ahead.
Moreover, thou knowest also what Joab the son of Uriah did to me, and what he did to the two captains of the host of Israel.
So now what Joab did, he killed two of the captains, and now David's remembering it. This is David in his old age, remembering what Joab done to Abner. Go ahead.
The son of Ner, and said unto Amasa, the son of Jether, whom he slew, and shed the blood of war in peace.
So now it was a time of peace. So now they made peace now. All of them made peace. And what did Joab go and do? Killed Abner in a time of peace, man. There was a time of peace and Joab couldn't let it go. And he went and killed Abner. So that's what David's talking about. David was still mad about this till his dying days. Read on.
Khan. And put the blood of war upon his girdle that was about his loins.
Go ahead.
And his shoes that were on his feet. Do therefore according to thy wisdom, and let not this whorehead go down to the grave in peace.
And he said, let not him go down as an old man to the grave in peace, meaning this man needs to die before he gets old. He needs to die in a way which is not a peaceful death. He said Joab needs to die in a way which is not a peaceful death for what he done to Abner. Now, guess what would have happened if Joab let Abner live? Joab would have got to live, man. Joab would have got to live. Now, when it came for Joab to die, he didn't want to die. Also, jump to verse 29.
Khan, verse 29. 2 Kings 2:29. Or 3:29. And it was told King Solomon that Joab was fled into the tabernacle of the Lord. And behold, he is by the altar.
So now Joab fled to the tabernacle of the Lord, and he was by the altar. Go ahead.
Khan. Then Solomon sent Benaiah the son of Jodiah, saying, go, fall upon him.
So now Solomon told them, go fall upon him, meaning go kill Joab. And Joab fled. Why? Because Joab didn't want to die. Abner didn't want to die also. But what? Joab killed Abner, and now Joab's finally reaping what he sowed, man. He's finally reaping what he sowed, and now he don't want to die. Whereas if you don't want to die, you shouldn't kill somebody else, man. He killed Abner without mercy. It's time for him to die without mercy. Whereas if he resisted the evil, guess what would have happened? He wouldn't have died like this, man. Joab would have got to live. He would have got to live out his life and went down to his grave as an old man. But because he couldn't let go and he wanted to do evil for evil, now evil's come upon him right now and he doesn't want this evil. Whereas he put evil on somebody else for an accident, and now the evil's coming up back upon him. He don't want this evil, man. And this is why Christ said we need to resist evil, man. Because if not, we're all going to die the same way. Because imagine this. You kill someone of mine, I'm going to kill someone of yours. And then someone of yours is going to kill me. Whereas we could just stop it where, all right, we draw a line in the sand, no more killing. I'm not going to kill this person because I don't want to die. And then we can all live instead of ending up like Abner, Joab, and so forth. Read on.
Khan, verse 30. And Benaiah came to the tabernacle of the Lord and said unto him, thus saith the king, come forth. And he said, nay, I will die here.
And he said, no, you know why? Because he thought, they're not going to kill me on the tabernacle. He thought, yo, I'm not going to get killed here. Listen, he could have done with the city of Refuge right now, man. He's there. And he's saying, nah, I'll die here because he's thinking they're not going to kill me in the place where the tabernacle is, where the altar is. Go ahead.
Khan. And Benaiah brought the king word again, saying, thus said Joab, and thus he answered unto me. So thus he answered to me. And the king said unto him, do as he have said, and fall upon him and bury him.
Do what?
Fall upon him and bury him.
And listen, man, this is when Joab got killed. Now, Joab killed Abner. And now it's time for someone to kill Joab. And if we don't stop killing each other, guess what's going to happen?
That's
We're
right.
going to keep on killing until someone kills us.
That's
and if
right.
someone kills them, then someone kills us and someone kills them. And there's no line drawn in the sand. And we're going to keep on killing and keep on killing and keep on killing until we listen to what Christ said when he said, resist evil, man, and love your enemies and bless your enemies. Until we do that, there's just going to be more killing. There's going to be more knife crime. What happened with Abner and Joab is what you see with gang members every single day. I'm going to go shoot up his block because he killed one of my boys 2 years ago.
That's right.
Imagine we're still killing each other based on gang stuff that happened before we was born, man. Half of this gang stuff happened 40 years ago, and we born 20-something years ago, still killing each other over stuff that happened 40 years ago. Stuff that happened 40 years ago, Handsworth and Newtown still hate each other for it, man. Whereas we could draw a line in the sand and say, yo, we brothers, let's just love one another and the killing could stop. That's what we should do. Go ahead, Hakim.
Yeah, just to add to that point there was heavy, sir. I mean, Deuteronomy says about, what is it, an evil eye against our brother. Yeah, and that kind of proves it here, right here, having an evil eye and not able to forgive.
Exactly. We can't forgive one another for nothing, man. But then we forgive everybody else. Whereas if we could forgive each other, all them gang murders that happened years ago, we could draw a line in the sand. Sometimes you hear people say too much things have happened for us to get on with that side. Listen, man. If we don't start now, guess what's going to happen? Our kids is going to be involved. Their kids is going to be involved. Whereas we could resist the evil, and it could all stop today, man. Today it could all stop. Is there any more on that?
Yeah, just a little bit more now, sir, and then it's done. And the king said unto him, do as he had said, and fall upon him and bury him, that thou mayest take away the innocent blood which Joab shed from me. And
take away the innocent blood which Joab shed from me, meaning what? This is vengeance, man. Go ahead.
That's it, sir.
All right, with that, clap it up. This is the end of the class. We'll be here tomorrow with Officer Karafi at 7 p.m. All right, shalom, Israel.
Shalom.
Shalom,